everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk About Skills, Baby. My name is Kelly Ryan Bailey, and I'm your host. Our guest today is Amelie Yan Gouiffes. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'd like to introduce you quickly. So Amelie has spent more than 23 years managing crisis in Latin America, the Caribbean, Asia, Africa, Europe, and the Pacific, working with the European Union, the UN system, the Red Cross, and non-governmental organizations. She works with affected communities to address their needs in an empowering way, advises governments on disaster recovery and risk reduction, builds the capacity of national and international humanitarian and development actors, and empowers the corporate sector for growing through change, disruption, and uncertainty. She hits it home in the mind and the heart with the cross-cultural perspective and unique experience from unstable and changing environments, supporting corporate and nonprofit sectors in strengthening the resilience of their people, businesses, and projects. Her 2020 personal journey includes the experience of cancer and chemotherapy, gifting her with valuable additional perspective on resilience building and thriving in the time of crisis. Her unique ability to energize and motivate people makes it exciting to uncover inner diamonds, chase big objectives, and appreciate the power of change. She has coached and delivered motivational talks to thousands of government officials, members of parliament, entrepreneurs, charity leaders, professional speakers, priests, and students in Spain, Iran, France, Thailand, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, South Africa, and in many other countries. She is a certified professional coach by the International Coach Federation. Her book, which I highly recommend, is called Speak and Live Your Legacy, available in English and Spanish and published by Bubok Publishing, shares wisdom from Colombia, Guatemala, Cameroon, Bosnia, and hers, I'm gonna not be able to pronounce that particular country. Can you get that one for me?
Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Thank you so much. North Korea and Afghanistan for a practical pathway to build resilience and shine our personal and corporate inner diamond. It has been featured on Spanish national radio on Teresa Viejo's program and listed among a 20-book selection of must-read books. What an amazing accomplishment. She also speaks fluently in English, French, and Spanish, and her dream, which I have to say I absolutely love, a world where we can all be, belong, and become. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is just fabulous. And I know that I have read through these amazing highlights, which I just want to take a moment and thank you for what you've put out into the world to help people. And what I'd love to do is also just hear a little bit more about your journey, like how what led you here today, maybe in a bit more detail, if you don't mind.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for the invitation, for enabling me to be here talking to you and to your audience, to your people. I'm always very excited of what technology enables us to do today. So to be
true.
Speaking with the United States and with people that I will probably never see, but here we are connecting and sharing in things that are important to us. So I'm really excited about that. And yes, my journey, thank you for this beautiful introduction. Yeah, my journey starts, my journey is fundamentally global. It starts when I'm 18 years old. I leave France and I take a night train to Spain. I would not speak Spanish at that time. And I'm with a suitcase. Of course, it's 30 years back because I'm close to my 49 this year. So is the time the suitcases do not have wheels. You just go like that. And I take this train and I go to Spain initially to learn Spanish 1 year. And actually it was my first expatriation and the last time I went to live in France, because of course I came back to France for holidays, but I never actually came back for living in France. Wow. I studied in Spain some more years, and then I engaged into humanitarian aid. I started with Bosnia and worked I mean, I lived in more than 13 countries and intervened and had mission or covered natural disasters or conflict areas in close to 40 or more than 40 maybe countries.
Wow.
Mm.
What
Yeah.
and if I may, what made you interested in that type of work?
There's first, you know, when I'm in Spain, I think it's 1994. I remember 1994. I remember very well the year because it's 1 year before the first international conference on the rights of women, the Beijing conference.
Mhm.
And at that time, of course, it's a big thing because from this conference came out that that women's rights are human rights.
Yes.
And though nowadays it can seem, I mean, of course, you
Right.
know, at that time, there's been years of preparation, it's been really intense and intensive discussions among countries. There's been amendments to the statement from many countries. So it was not a little thing. So at that time, I'm volunteering with Amnesty International and actually with a group of other people, we set up the first women's rights team in the Spanish Secretariat of Amnesty International. And when I volunteer with Amnesty International, I read and I discover and I organize campaign for all these human rights activists or these just rights activists all over the world who are being tortured, who are being jailed, who are not given a space to express, and who still fighting and struggling and who do not have access maybe to some rights that we take for granted now, like the right to vote and the right as a woman to
Yes.
dress and to speak as you wish, the right to, I mean, so many things that and I'm fascinated by these people.
Wow.
I said, my God, I want to know these people. I want, because they, wow, it gives me goosebumps. You know, it's just you want to know them. You want to listen to them. You want to see what is this fire that they have within that
Right.
makes them go through all what they go through and to believe and to be so activist. So at that time, the only way to get to the field was doing humanitarian aid. So I applied to a project management job in a humanitarian aid organization, and then I fall in love with humanitarian aid. When I started, I had this cliche about humanitarian aid: you go and give food, you go and give this, you.
Sure.
And humanitarian aid is so much more complex because it's about understanding the cultural and cultural environment, social dynamics, political context, and so I find it fascinating. And actually, I started humanitarian aid in 1997, and I was very blessed because this has been an amazing time in the world of relief and the emergency response. And because we have grown a lot, there's been a lot of development of the professionalism, of the thinking, of the way we support people in crisis. So so that's the thing. The trigger for me is and the trigger why I do that and why I work on crisis management, whether it's through missions to the field or through coaching or through or talks, it's I cannot tolerate people suffering.
Yes.
You know, it touches me so deep in the heart when people suffer. So when people suffer, when people go through such crisis, for them, because you know there's no level. Can be your crisis may be small to the
Right.
eyes of others, but for you it's overwhelming.
Right.
So, for example, the COVID crisis. If you look at countries that are used to crisis, like I mean continents like Africa, Asia, they're managing much better than us, the Western world, no, because we're not used to that. So our resilience muscle, no, I like to call it the muscle of
It's such
resilience,
a muscle.
is not strong because we've not practiced. So here, for example, I coach a lot of corporate teams industries from the tourism industries, for example. I've coached a number of them, and the people are in so much suffering. So when someone from another context could say, hey, why are you suffering so much? You have the state paying for your salary or part of it. You have all these resources, and I don't have that. I'm not complaining, but it's just a matter. The suffering cannot be compared. And so that's what I work. That's my, this is my passion, to be of support with what I know to people in suffering.
Yeah. You know, there's so many, I'm always, when I'm listening, I'm always hearing, you know, what you've learned through these experiences. And I love how you called it a muscle, because the funny thing about what I call skills, which are things like empathy, you being able to feel the pain that someone else is going through, the resilience, you know, muscle, these are things that you don't just learn once. Just like, you know, exercise, it's something that you work on constantly.
Yes.
And you develop, and in all honesty, just like exercise and just like muscles in your body, there are some days where it's just not that strong for whatever reason.
Yes.
And it's just the gradual buildup of these, you know, life skills, these life muscles. I'm really loving that term. That makes such a huge difference. Is there, you know, I often wonder this, because most people get into this kind of work because there's like a moment in time for them that makes them see something that flips a switch, and they know, like, this is what I'm going to do. Did you have this one moment that you can recall that made you realize that's where I'm headed?
Yes, I would say this, actually, yeah, this, I would say it was, I had these moments. In the first one is the one I mentioned when I was 18 years old, and I decided that I go and learn Spanish.
Right.
I think I didn't know where I was heading. I mean, I sort of know, yes, I'm going to Spain, I'm going to study Spanish, I'm going for 1 year. The plan was 1 year. So, you know, and it's following like this inner call, this thing that is burning so strong inside you, no, that in your guts, in your heart, in your soul, that you have to go, but you're not really clear where you're going and what it's taking to you. So yes, I had a plan, because I had a plan. So I wanted to learn Spanish 1 year. I wanted to open my mind, my eyes to the world, and come back to my law studies in France, then be a lawyer, etc., etc.
Okay.
So actually, so that's not where I headed. I headed in a different direction.
Of course, no, I love that, but it's so true that most people have this sort of plan that's, you know, sort of a standard, right?
Yes, that's true. So you go with a plan, but you follow, of course, you follow your intuition, your instinct, or however you call it, or a divine call, or whatever, and you know that's the way. There's no maybe, because I'm the queen of doing these columns, now plus and minus, and this decision, because when you're young, you also have this, you just go, okay. So I just went, and actually, so yes, with a plan, because it's important. After the intuition, you transform it into a plan, so it can materialize, and you go somewhere. Now you need to know where you're going. I love this quote from Yogi Berra. He was a coach of the baseball coach, and he used to say, if you don't know where you're going, you might end up somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah. And you know, I love this quote, because at the beginning you say, well, it's of course, but then at the end you say so many times in life, or in what we do, we don't know where we're going, and then after we're surprised that one day we wake up and we don't feel we're in the right place,
right?
Because actually we didn't decide where we wanted to be. Okay.
So true.
So that's the first time. And you know, it was hard, It was hard, because you arrive. I mean, I was 18 years old. I was looking like 16 years old. I arrived to a country where I don't speak the language. I know no one, and so I've cried many evenings. And I think, why did I do that? And but then you keep up, and you stay there. And then I would say the next time I did it was like in terms of my life, a big thing has been like it was 7 years back when I quit my job in the European Union, and to just go to another planet where I didn't know the language. I mean, I opened my company. I was living in Thailand at that time, and when I say a new world with a different language, is that because I didn't know about entrepreneurship, I didn't know about companies, I didn't know about chambers of commerce. I knew only in my life one entrepreneur. Me, I'm more used to be with communities, with governments, with international organizations. This was another world. So now in humanitarian aid, we work a lot with the private sector, but that's very recent. So I arrived to this is like new planet and new language, new everything. And I take this like at 18 years old, no? I took the train, is like you jump, no?
You just jumped. Yeah.
So I jumped. So yes, again with the plan, but the plan was that I just knew I had to go and explore. So I just had certified as a professional coach. So that's been a little my vehicle.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know who I wanted to coach for what. And indeed, it's been yeah, it was tough. I had to reconsider all my why, my what, my how. But
It's so true.
yeah.
Well, let's talk about this inner voice for a moment, because I think so many of us throughout our lives, whether or not we've felt that inner voice, make it, listening to it is a different thing, right? Because we'll feel it. And then sometimes we're like, no, that's not what's supposed to be. I'm going to continue on the path, but when you don't, not having a path, like you saying, I was going to be a lawyer, that's sort of one of those traditional paths, right? Where people are like, okay, I know what the plan is because the plans have been made for everybody on how to become a lawyer. So like, I know what the end result is, but when you listen to that inner voice, sometimes you don't yet know the plan. I love how you said it's important to make a plan, and we're going to come back to that. But first, I want to touch on a moment. How do you listen to your internal voice? Because even I would say that even though some of us have done crazy things when we're, younger, it still is very difficult to hear that voice and to actually listen. What are the things that you think you learned through that process and being able to do it a second time that would help someone else hear that inner voice?
I would say, how do you hear this inner voice? The first thing I learned, because I was quite resistant, I'm very rational, pragmatic, and practical. No, so when you have this thing within it, and I was young, so I had not, my spiritual journey was was almost non-existent. No, so I didn't have the tools for that. And you imagine 30 years back, we were not talking about what we're talking today. So the thing is just this urge within. No, so this urge within is when you feel it, and how do you feel it? So how do you feel it? You feel when you know you're not, when you are somewhere, you say, oh, I have a great job, or I have a great life, everything is perfect, I love my studies. For example, in my case, when I was 18 years old, this, but. So when there's a but, B-U-T, is that you're not where you have to be. So sit there, what's happening in your body? And you have this thing coming but it's not the way that was traced. Okay, so what I do, to let it express, I do my columns, no? Plus and minus. But
oh my gosh, I used to do this as a young person. I love
it. And then you do the plus, and actually there's more minus.
Yes.
But then when you see that, I like to remove things from the head always.
It's always
and
so
sometimes
good.
even,
like somehow get it out so that you can see it.
You get it out. You get space in your head. Then you look with the eyes, so it's a different perspective.
Yes.
And also it's on paper. It's not anymore in your emotional system. No.
Yes.
And your mental stuff. No, I'm the kind that it goes. So it needs to get
me
out.
too. My mind, the anxiety, right? But there's something about when you get it out, whether it's on paper, I'm a fan of paper too. there's something about that. It's sort of like design thinking-esque, right? Where like all of a sudden, when you put a different sense towards that, and I don't know about you, it's like once I see it all together on the page in my plus and minus column, then it allows my brain to think about it in a different way. And like you said, it's like sit with it, because then you're something happens where all of a sudden new things might spark that you can add to your list. So I love that you like get it out somehow.
Yes, you get it out. And then here you're surprised because you see your columns and you see that there's 2 plus and there's 10 minus at least, or 20. And then when you see that, then here, because it's on paper, you can make the difference.
Yeah.
I would say between what the soul is asking you to do and what the mind is saying. No? So you see it, and then the soul is going to rebel somehow within, not to say, hey, yeah, but that's not the way.
Yes.
So here is the question. So that's what I was doing when I was 18 and I had Mama. So now when I feel it, I still have the same when I have a birth, or when I start complaining about everything, about my environment, where I don't like this, because I'm not a person who complains. I'm a happy one, and I like to see everything is good, and so when I'm not in that place, I know that
something is
because
trying
I'm not
to
where
get
I
out.
have to be. That's not where I like to be, and I am. So then in this moment you listen to your gut, and then we have to also, if you pray, for example, if you go to temple, to church, to this place where you're going to stop and to listen what's coming to you, it's just but I would say it's a listening prayer. No, because I mean, actually, I think the prayer should always be listening, because we tend to speak a lot. No, when we pray and asking and or being grateful, and then it's agitation again. No, so it's this space. Of course, there's one part of that we do it, but then we want to have this space when we feel that there's a but. When we pray or when we meditate, to say, okay, here is what I bring. Here I have my question. What is this but? Give me a hint. How do I go about it? Whatever the question, but an empowering question. So like, give me something. No, and I'm listening. I'm listening. And again, being in this listening thing and accepting what comes, and it does not come maybe like that, and it comes little by little, but that's okay. So it can be walking in the forest, can be, I mean, what is your way to reconnect with something that's bigger than your mind, your body, and your emotions?
Everyone has like a happy place. I know when I'm really trying to mull over something that has come to me, I have to go to the beach and I have to put my feet in the sand. There's something about that gives me, I don't know, right? But everyone has that place. Maybe your place is in the grass. Maybe your place is, it doesn't matter, but wherever that place is where you can, and I love how you said, and this is a really important piece to the listening, is that we're conditioned to want things right now. And so stopping and listening, and sometimes that listening is like a super painful step for people that are used to just having an answer like immediately because you can Google it. And
absolutely,
to take that time, and it's different. I don't know about you. Is it different for you every time when you listen? Like sometimes it's 24 hours, sometimes it's like a month.
Yes, and you know what I like to, because I'm working on my patience. It's an area of development for me.
Important skill.
Oh my God, the patience. And I say, I wish I had it in my blood from birth. And the thing that helps me is to remember that we are products in development.
Yes.
We will never be fine. It's a journey. No, it's a little.
That's why when I asked the question at the beginning, it's about your journey, because we're not at the end. There's never an end. There's really not.
No, and when we die, we're not finished.
Nope.
The point is that we want to arrive, at least the day we die, we want to have done the most possible we can. At least we don't want to arrive and say to oneself or to God or to the universe or to what we relate to, we don't want to say, oh my God, I
Right.
didn't do that because I was too lazy, or I didn't tell, or I behaved like that. I wish I had that. So we want to arrive with saying, okay, yes, I was purely imperfect during 80 years, but I did all what I could. So
Yeah.
so that's the thing. So when I get very impatient, I say, okay, actually the answers are around us. So what's happening is that we're not seeing and we're not listening because we want
Go, go, go.
because we in a generation, I mean in a society, and when I speak of generation, not the age but the world, that you want something, you buy it.
Yep.
No, even personal development now, you buy,
Oh,
become a millionaire in 6 days,
yep.
be happy in 5 lessons, be that, and we know that it's not true, but we go and buy that because that's the easy way.
Yep.
And that's we say, oh great, and then it creates so much frustrations. But that's so yeah, let us remember that we're just developing.
I love that. So now, so when you hear yourself and you listen and you get that out and listen, with a different sense, like seeing and writing it down and seeing it, when then I feel like, is that at the point where you start thinking of, okay, what is a plan on how I can move forward with this thing that is just something that is screaming to go?
Yes, after it's really, you have this thing, and because when it is, that's the way to go. So then you need to you need to 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 go with to move in that direction. Sometimes it's not very clear. Like I said, when I left my job, so I know I would be coaching, but I didn't know who, how, and what if
Yeah.
I would like, but I knew that was the way to go. No, so take actions. Of course, have your safety nets. Be prepared. Don't go like woohoo. No, I went because I had my. Actually, I got into coaching certification. No, I didn't even know what was a coach. I have to confess, and I didn't mean to be a coach. I was with my job, and I knew there was something that I wanted to do, but I had no idea what it was. Like I said, this world, I didn't know that world. So one day I received and so I was all the time, I knew that I wanted to change world. So that's a big thing after 20 something years of being in my humanitarian world. And so I started writing ideas that were coming. So write again, get it out.
Yes, I
Right.
love
I had
reading.
crazy projects.
Yep.
Even some ethical and ethnic clothing brand.
I
I
love
even
it.
drew some
Yeah.
things, and then I was saying, I had ideas, and it was not, and then one day, when the universe, when you're asking the universe, give me thing, it will come.
It's so
So
true.
because I was in action myself, trying to writing with my little notebook, and I had my brand
Yeah.
of clothing, but it was not my stuff, but I
Yeah.
had it already, yet thought, because I was really asking for
Yeah.
what's the call for me. And then one day I received an email saying, learn how to ask empowering questions. I said, my God, that's what I want, because I'm passionate about empowering people. I mean, that's my obsession.
Yes.
And so I said, oh, that's what I want. I want to learn how to ask empowering questions, because when people come to me, because even in the office and everything, colleagues would come to me, even before I was a coach, to share something, to ask for how should I manage that and everything. So, or even when I work with communities, and I said, instead of telling them what to do, or guiding them or advising, even if it's very wise, and I want them to connect with their inner wisdom, with their knowledge, because that's really empowering when you're able to do that. So I said, oh, let me. So I went on the free call, and it was a huge coaching certification,
Wow.
13 months, no, not 11 months. And wow, I said, that's amazing. And at some stage, I said, I cannot continue with this. I mean, I had a high level job, and really demanding in terms of presence and commitment and everything. I had 2 kids alone. one of them a baby.
Wow.
And I was coaching at 3 o'clock in the morning with the United States, Saturdays, Sundays. I said, no, cannot continue. So what now? And I say, oh my God, I love when I coach people. I love what it creates. And yes, the least, the plus and the minus, there was not many
So
plus.
many,
But
exactly, right?
the only plus was
That it felt
that's
right.
your call.
You know, it's
That's
so
where to go.
it's so
Mm.
amazing that you say this because through my, and I'm on my life journey too, right? There's been so many things, but in the last few months, I've had to really figure out what's the right next move for me. And honestly, I was chatting with someone over Zoom and they had me close my eyes and we had like the three things that were mulling over in my brain. And they were like, okay, so we want to visualize. There's three doors. Door number one, you open it and it looks like this. And it was one of the things that I was considering. It was like my, what I'm doing now, the path that I'm on, that's what it's like, right? Door number two was like a combination of the three options, that's what it looked like. My eyes were closed and like all of my senses were experiencing what happened when I opened this door. And then it was door number three, which just like you was like the door of like the thing that for some reason is like firing me up and I can't explain it. There's nothing, I mean, all of the minuses are there, right? Like you'd be crazy if you walked through that door. But when I walked through that door, like I described earlier with like the beach is my happy place, it was like I walked onto a warm beach and the sand and like it was like everything felt right. And you just can't not listen to that, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a must, and I believe that's why you are on earth, because you've come for that. So you've come for that. And it takes me when I was listening to you also, I said, the first part is, yes, how you follow that, and you write it down, and you listen. And then what also is very helpful is, when you go through the experiences of this journey, is what are the questions you're asking. Even when you pray, you ask for answer. What are you asking?
Yeah.
And here, for example, last year, 2 days before the confinement, I was diagnosed with cancer. So all of last year, I had the surgery, chemotherapy, radiotherapy. And when I was I came out of from the hospital, and I was diagnosed. I ask, Mami, I ask God, then ask your inner voice, the universe, Mother Earth, or ask,
Whoever it
I
is.
don't know,
Yeah.
ask, but just ask something that's higher than you, that's bigger than you, not something that's your mind or the mind of someone else, of your best friend, or
Exactly.
of your, no, that's not that, because that's higher. Your purpose, your mission, it's something bigger than you. Okay, it's a soul level at least.
Yes.
Okay, so I ask God, and I ask, it's not, why is it happening to me? Because
Right.
why is it happening to me? When we say that, oh, why it's happening to me again, or why I'm feeling
Focusing
like
on the
that,
negative. Yeah.
this is disempowering, and this does not help, because the why, who knows? Then after you can think about that, but that's not giving you an answer,
Right. So
because that's going maybe to,
what's an empowering question?
what do you want me to do with that?
Yeah.
And me, that's what I ask. It's a what question. And actually, you look in coaching, we never use, barely use the why. We ask what, how, and that's the question we want to ask ourselves. That's
Yeah.
the empowering question. What do you want? It does not mean that you're not crying.
Mm-mm.
And then let's
You
not
still
about
have
the
to feel all the
happiness. Well,
feelings.
the happiness dictator that we have a lot in the personal development, and it's killed me many long time also. To, you have to be positive, you have to be. It's not that. I mean, some days I have to say, I mean, my body was aching so much, because it's not only you have that, you have all in your life, you have your family, you have issues, you have challenges, you have everything in that. In this day, I was crying, and I say, my God,
Yes.
what do I do with that? Okay, so it does not mean that you're not suffering, that it's not difficult, that it's not. But when you ask yourself, what do I do with that? What do you want me to do with that? How this serve my mission? How this serve my purpose? And you ask yourself these empowering questions, then you get answers, you get clarity. And then you move forward.
Yes.
Okay.
Tell us
So
about moving
yeah.
too, because I feel like that's been a lot of your message throughout our conversation. I also agree that it's very important to take action to create movement. Tell us a little bit about that, because you've obviously been through a difficult, just this one example. I'm sure there's been plenty, right? But like just this one example of a difficult time, but you already had some things in your skills toolbox, like I like to call it, or your skills backpack. Like you already had some muscles that you had built up over time. It's still hard. So what is that movement, what does that do?
You mean, what are the skills to activate this movement?
Yes.
I would say the first one is definitely what I call the first skill is this connection to oneself, no, to look at oneself and look where we are, and what's alive in us at that moment, no, to capture that. And then the second step would be acceptance, no? The ability to accept. There's this it's a prayer, but I've never understood I've never found a verified source or where it's coming from. It said, give me the strength to accept what I cannot change.
Yep.
The courage, and that's a second skill. To the courage, because the courage can be worked on. Yep. Of course, we born some people more courageous, but not that we born more courageous. It's that life kicks us so many times in the butts that we have.
And I want to, on the courage note, one of my favorite quotes, which I'm looking at like a board that I have quotes on. I cannot remember who said it. Because I can't see the words that small, but it was something to the effect that courage is not, in the absence of fear. Like you have courage in fear. Like it's part of it.
That's when you need courage. Yes, absolutely. So the courage to accept, the courage to change what I can change, and the wisdom and the intelligence to make the difference between the two. So there's this part of acceptance and activating the courage to, despite the fear and everything, to ask the right question. Because when you ask why it's happening to me, then you stay in your comfort zone. No, I like to say when we have a crisis, and that's normal, it's like an accident. No, there's something that disrupts us violently. And then what do? We go at the passenger seat, no? And the passenger seat, we're waiting for someone to rescue and someone to drive the car. But there's no one. There's no one who's going to rescue us, and no one who's going to take the steering wheel, because it's our job. So the thing is, okay, I'm here, and then make that choice to go to the steering wheel. It doesn't mean that we don't get support on how to move forward. We don't get someone to guide us. We don't get, yes, but I am at my steering wheel. And here I activate my resilience. So resilience has become a big word, and now it's lost a lot of substance, no, like all these big words that become the big fashion, no? And with the COVID, it became the big fashion. So I want to give my definition that I use as resilience, coming from the disaster management world. Okay, now I know the psychologists also talk about resilience, but I mean it's the same, but there's this nuance. I mean, I'm not a counselor. I'm not trained in that. So from the disaster management world, and how I use it in my life, and it's the ability to surf on the crisis and to bounce forward. So to use at some stage the crisis as a path to bounce but forward. Okay, so not come back, because we use in disaster management, we say build back better. Yes, I don't want to come back to the previous conditions, because the previous conditions made that the crisis had such an impact on me.
Yep.
Okay, so I want to grow. I want to bounce, of course, get back on my feet, but in a better way.
Yes.
Mm. And so because there's actually I'm going to I'm planning today to do a video on that.
Mm.
Um, it's the fact that I mean we've lived in we've been said a big lie since we're kids that if you're going, the girls were going to meet the charming prince, the boys are going to meet a woman, she looks gorgeous, she's very intelligent, and she's loved them more than mommy. Then that if you study hard you'll get a good job, and with the job you'll be happy, you know, and that this that, and then the kids, whoa, it's pure joy and everything.
Yeah.
And if you tell them, and if you discipline them very tight, you do this, do that, the kid will obey all his life, and they're going to be just perfect, like on Facebook, you know. And then when you arrive in life, and then there's no crisis, that life has no crisis. And then if
What
you
you
eat
just
nicely,
described
you do
was
sport,
what I
yeah,
thought life was going to be like.
yeah, because me too, me too. And then you arrive in life and you say, oh my God, you know, I thought it was only the other ones, because me, that's not what I've been sold
I know.
since I'm a kid. So what's
When
happening?
we were growing up, all of the, for me, it was all about the Disney movies, and everything that was the view we were given
Yeah,
to the
of
outside
course.
world as children. And so it's just what you end up believing.
Yeah. So we taught to that by one side, that if you have a crisis in your life, you're almost a loser, you know, because something wrong you've done.
No,
Okay.
you're not.
And so that's this part. And then this yeah. So that's this big lie that we need to release. The crises are part of life. You know, people of course on Facebook, on Instagram, there's no crisis, and that's a big lie. Okay, because and but of course I'm not going to put my crisis on Instagram, on Facebook, because they and first you don't want, you want to be with yourself, you want to be
Right.
managing the crisis, and you're not here exposing it. And that's it. So yeah, the life on Facebook and Instagram is just not real.
No.
It's part of the life we live in this world,
Mhm.
and but it's not the one. So crisis is part of the life, and then you manage crisis with your acceptance. Second, your resilience, and resilience is a muscle, so it
Yep.
means you practice it. Okay, so have you practiced that? Taking action, coming back to the steering wheel. Hey, I'm the boss. I'm the boss. Okay, so what do I do in this situation? Asking the right question. What do I do? How do I do? Yeah. And
Yep.
and 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 I would say that, you know, the one that I've been, I think, really been challenged and had to practice the last years. It's been perseverance, you know, because when I've noticed that when I was young, I mean younger, and you know, and this impatience, and you get things done and you're like a machine. No kids, not at me, I was working 20 hours per day, but literally, I mean, it's not a metaphor. And 7 days per week. And
Mhm.
of course you have nothing else than your job, it's your passion, it's your stuff, you go, you do, you da. And then things come, of course, things
Yep.
come, but then there's a come. By me, it's been a concept to say, stop,
Yep.
that does not work like that. This thing that you're using is not a robot, it's called a body, and is a human, is a living being.
Yep.
And you don't treat a living being like that. So so I've noticed, even when I started in, I have a lot of admiration for, actually, when I discovered this world of entrepreneurs and everything, I said, oh my God, I'm amazed by these people, because this perseverance, no? Startups, these startups founders, years without filling
Right.
the fridge and still believing in the mission and in the project. I say, oh my God,
That
you
level of
know?
persistence is sometimes so hard, right? Because all of the things that get thrown at you as you're on this journey, things aren't roses, right? It's not that perfect story, that fantasy life
Yeah,
you described that we all grew up with.
yes,
It's not like that. And somehow they still have this strength to keep going in the face of all the, you know,
yeah. And that
moments.
that's the thing to that's for me the next. I mean, after acceptance, resilience, and perseverance is essential.
Yeah.
I'm not saying not persevere where you feel that it's not where you have a bad.
Right.
So, if you have a bad, that's a signal. That's not where I'm meant to be, and that's not where because life is to be enjoyed.
And you know what the thing is that, and I will share this, is that, I think we're so trained throughout our life to push through and it's going to be okay. But I will say, as someone who has persisted past my butt, when I had a moment in my life where I didn't listen to the voice. I just pushed it way deep down and I kept going on the path that wasn't the right path. I will tell you what happened. It led to a major burnout. And what you described with your body, right? My body took over and shut itself down and I could not function. And so at some point, if you push that butt that you have way deep down, your body will rebel no matter what. I promise it's going to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's my experience with clearly, because of course all this cancer treatment is about your body, no? And because also the treatment is so aggressive, so actually the treatment kills you to save you, no? And because it cannot differentiate the malignant cells to the good cells, so it's quite a it's quite an interesting experience. But it's suddenly me. Of course I was taking care of my body, doing a lot of sport, detox, eating healthy, vegetarian, going to vegan, and all that perfect, taking care of my look and perfect. But I was taking care of my body, not like I was taking care of the temple of my soul.
Yep.
Or even of a living being. I was taking care of my body like a machine that was requested to be at high top level of performance all the time. There was no love, there was no care. The only thing I cared about, talking about care, is that it functions.
Yeah.
So that it slept the minimum possible, that it delivers. I was a delivery machine.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too, because you talk about, right, your external body. I think this is an important point. We all understand as people, if we said, I'm a professional athlete, we know that rest is actually part of being a professional athlete because you can't keep your body going like that. But then for ourselves, we don't consider that for ourselves. It's really fascinating how we can say, well, if it's part of your profession, then that's what you do. That's normal. And we just focus on that external experience. Someone who also has health issues that no one else can see, right? No one knows what's going on inside of my body, but I did the same thing. And then all of a sudden it starts coming back because I thought I was doing all of the right things, but you're right. Like if you don't take care of it as like body is not just the outside, it's the inside.
Yes. And I would say, a big learning, I've actually deprived myself of sleep for many years. This belief first, this pushing myself all the time. And also, and people I admire a lot in the personal development world, but there's been this thing, I think it's changing, it's shifting. But I was hearing from a number of big people in that world that I really admire a lot. The number of hours of sleeping hours needed, it's here. It's a lot mental. You don't need that many hours. You just condition your mind and everything.
Interesting.
And I've been doing that, and actually I've killed my health. And I know that that's a big part of reaching where I reach physically. And for example, I was listening now other big names in the personal development, so like Brandon Burchard, that I really like to. And he actually says in his high performance coaching and high performance, he says sleep at least 8 to 9 hours.
Yeah, it's so
and it felt so right for me. I read it last year. I
actually really love his, I love his stuff too. And it's, the thing about sleep too, like, I think I can only imagine that the majority of people listening to this are probably not sleeping a lot. And if they are, they might know some of the things that we've been talking about, but I found it really fascinating. Like, I'm a mom too. So you just think, I mean, in my head, when I wasn't sleeping, it's because, I was trying to do all the things during the day hours. And then when I focused on me, it was at night. So my sleep time was maybe 4 hours a night.
Yeah.
Because once I finally got the kids to bed, then I could focus on whatever it was that was my butt in the deep, like right in like the dark. It was almost like a secret because I didn't want that to affect anyone else in their life. And then all of a sudden you realize, if anyone hasn't actually tried this, I'm sure we all have, when we go on vacation and we actually sleep, how much more clear your mind is. Like
Yes. Yeah.
how much more you can, it's fascinating. And also this whole listening to yourself, I find that sleep is what, for whatever reason, all the connections that are made in my brain during those sleeping hours allows me to hear whatever it is that's going on inside faster than if I wasn't sleeping. And now I created a list the other day of like my top 5 non-negotiables for me. Sleep is number 1. So if I don't sleep 9 hours a night, everything else falls apart.
That's so true. And you mentioned it, not to also have some days of rest. Some days where you're not working, you're not thinking, you're
just
not,
like you said,
your
your
mind
brain,
just,
it needs a break, right? Because if you keep talking, if you keep going,
no, it's again, you just don't have this time off. So I think that's really important. And I would say that the last thing I would like to leave, because we spoke about ourselves and how we heal, and as mentioned, now we had the steering wheel. We need support.
Yes.
First, we social being, and we need support. So once we've reconnected with all our resourcefulness, all our leadership and our decision making, is get support, and get support to develop your skills. Get a mentor, get a mastermind group, get get a tribe. I say a tribe because my mentor is Rob Thomas, and I'm part of his tribe. Is a program M1, and for already 2 or 3 years. So when you have a space of people who can hold you accountable, who can cheer you up, who can support you, who have different backgrounds, different life choices and everything, but there's a common set of values or objectives in terms of being in the group where you are. Find your group, find your mentor, find your coaching program. Have this support, because this support is here to hold you when also you're in crisis and you need some help to get back to the steering wheel. But also when you're on a high and you're on your highway and everything, that people who hold you accountable and who help you to go even further. Okay, to not fall in the comfort zone, because we know that the magic happens outside.
I love that. Now, I know we're coming up to the end of our time here, Amelie. But what I'd like to do is, one other part that I thought of as we were having this discussion is the work that you're doing on the corporate side as well, because, a portion of this podcast focuses on innovations that are happening in the workplace. And I would, refer to them, although I tend to say skills-based hiring and learning, in my mind, this is all part of future of work, future of education. And I want to lean on this a moment. And if you'd like to share anything here, is that everything we're talking about, sometimes people forget that people actually run companies. And so the stuff that we're talking about today, when you do the corporate work that you do, my guess is that you're working with the people within that organization. And it doesn't necessarily matter at what level, but of course, when we're making decisions, we in the past liked to separate out our personal and professional life and think that, we can perform in a professional way no matter what. We all know, because COVID has shown us, to get all of us who didn't know before, that it actually is just intertwined. And so
absolutely. And I would like to highlight what you just said. That's COVID, I've heard in all the coaching in resilience and crisis management that I've done with the corporate sector all this last year because of COVID, the main thing I'm hearing in Spain, in France, wherever the people are from, they say that I have these team leaders who says, Amelie, I before I was coming to work and I was not even asking my people how they're doing because we wanted to focus on the work and the work objectives. And he says, now I wake up in the morning and the first thing I think is of my people. Yeah. And I don't know how to tell them how much they're important to me. I don't know how even to listen to ask them about how they feel and to listen to what they have to say, because I've never done that. Mm-hmm. But I would like so much them to know how much they're important to me. And it's the first time I'm thinking of them like that. But when it's the first time, then after COVID, it's not going to be the same. As a leader, we'll have grown. And then the people who work under our leadership have seen you in another eyes, and also they've learned to see you as a human being, and not the boss, and to see you. I mean, not only the boss, and to see the other colleagues, and shift perspectives. And here it's very important because when yes, I work with the corporate world. So we're talking about the same. I mean, resilience management, but crisis management. And then what are the tools that we have to reconnect with who we are as an individual, as a team, as a company? And here we use so tools to enhance the resilience and to reconnect, especially with our resourcefulness, with who we are, because it seems in the Western world, because we're not used to have a huge crisis like the COVID that affected all areas of our life and that destroyed so many things in so little time, we've lost confidence in ourselves. We lost confidence in who we are. And before COVID, we had a life.
Yes.
We did so many things. It's like it's all erased. No. So what I like to work with is on this elevator pitch. It is 60 seconds to present yourself, your project, your business. But what is exciting about the pitch? Not only that you have a pitch and then you're super good in 60 seconds, you have a structured and powerful way to present yourself. Is because with these 60 seconds, you really connect with who you are, what you do, and how you do. And when you pitch in a way that sounds like you, that has your personality, and that helps you to reconnect of all who you are. And COVID next to that is nothing.
Yep.
It's temporary. Even if it seems is never ending, it's temporary. Okay, so when you reconnect with all what you are, that you build, you regain this confidence, you pass a message to your stakeholders, to your clients, that's reassuring, that they know here we are on the same boat, but we're moving forward. Okay, the COVID is just change the path, but it's not change who we are. On the contrary, it's helping us to grow, to discover other parts of who we are. Okay, yep. So yes, I like to use these tools to very practical tools, but at the end, what do? It's just strengthening this inner self, and this inner self, we have that in the team, strengthening the team as a team, strengthening the company as a company, with a company as it's, like I like to say, this inner diamond. No, we have it within.
It is.
A team as its inner diamond, a company as its inner diamond. So that's what is the inner diamond about. This is this resilience, this is this talents that we have to give to the world for a more shiny world.
I so love that. Like there's so much goodness in what you just described. And I to lean back on our listeners for a moment, I just want to say that, when we talk about sort of that high performer person and in the ability, growing these types of skills for ourselves, imagine if your entire company was made up of high performers.
Yeah.
Like how different, what difference would that make? And that is exactly where this piece of your work is really going to make such a huge difference, because to me, this and same for the reason of why I started this podcast, right? The idea was that if we all find what our unique gift is to the world, that gift that not only makes us happy in our personal life, but we know sets us on fire professionally.
Yeah.
If we can do that, what difference will that make for the people, for their tribe, for their circle, right? Their
Yes.
family, for their communities, for the company that they're working with, whether or not they're an entrepreneur or an employee, for government organization, everything. It just starts to keep going and going and going.
Yeah.
And my guess is when you were making these huge decisions in your life to go in this direction, you knew you wanted to make change. And when you came to this realization, you probably had the same thought, which was, oh my goodness, there's so much change by affecting one person's life that can be made.
Yes. That's true. And I want, as we're finishing, just to mention, of course, when you hear that, and I just want to say to you who are listening, you may be in the middle of a crisis and you say, my God, I'm feeling crap. I'm like of the cycle, I'm down there. Okay. So I remember a spiritual teacher once said, the more down you are, actually the highest you can
Yes.
bounce. And you can say, where I am right now, I just feel like so bad that bouncing and resilience and everything. And I want to tell you, all what we've mentioned and all these skills, that's when you want to have them. Because when, I've been in, and not far ago, and I will be again. I mean,
Yes,
life is a cycle. So
exactly.
at the bottom of the wheel, nah? And we're there. But the good thing, because the most painful is when we go down like that, no? And what is painful here many times is our resistance.
Yes.
So we like that, and then we injuring ourselves.
Yes.
No? So I mean, I don't say just that, but it's part of the journey. So when you go down, use these skills that you have,
Yes.
the resilience, the perseverance, your pitch, your confidence, your message, your gift, your unique gifts, the talents that you have and we have not mentioned here. So all that, it helps you that the cycle, the flow is more natural. And then you, at this moment, when you're at the bottom of the wheel, the good thing is that here you cannot go more down. Nope. So that's a time,
There's only one place you can go.
No, yeah. So here you stop. Because when I've been in these places in my life, I said, okay, great, because at least I don't fall more. Because that's the fall that is painful. So now I'm here, I'm sitting, I stop. And I listen. And I breathe. And I take some time off for this mind, like we mentioned before. And then I ask my questions. What now? Where do I want to go? Because when you're there, that's the opportunity to ask the big question. Yep. Now you don't have a life. All is broken. So you can recreate your life. Yep. Every crisis has a gift. So like I have a dear friend of mine who says it's actually the wrapping paper. It is badly wrapped. And the badly wrapped is the drama or the crisis we're going through. Yep. So it's remove this horrible wrap and find the gift. Yeah. And then when I started with the cancer process, well, when I was diagnosed, then I asked myself, I said, do I like my life? Because of course, when you have something like that, you think about life. But yes. Actually, death, I'm not too scared. It's not something. It's not a big fear. It's not a fear at all. Actually, I would like to say. So me, I asked the question for me about life. I said, do you like your life, Amelie? And there are many things I didn't like. And I say, why are you in that place? Right. Change them. So when you have big things like that, that's the opportunity. Because 1 year ago, I would, or even 1 month ago, I was not asking myself this question. Despite I was doing things, or I was living in somewhere, or whatever I didn't like. But you start in so much work, so much things, and you don't stop, like we were saying before, and you do. So let us stop before there's something big.
So true.
And just ask ourselves the big questions. Yeah.
I feel like there has been so much that I've learned in our session today. And I think that anyone listening here will feel the same way. so many good pieces that we've touched on. And Amelie, I think that honestly, I know we're going to hear more from you as you continue your journey and you grow. I feel like I should get your autograph right now because one day we'll
so
look
much,
back on this time and I'll be like, oh, remember when I got to talk with her?
No, that's thank you. Yes, know that we all and don't hesitate. We're all on the journey.
Yes.
In even when you feel down in these moments, you are high because you need to be down to be high and here you're learning something so huge. So just trust the journey and don't hesitate to contact with me. I mean, I know, Kelly, you're going to put my webpage and everything, so just write to me. I love connect with me on Instagram, on Facebook, wherever, on LinkedIn.
Yeah, what social media account? Because I know you're on all the socials, but like which one are you most active in conversation?
I really like LinkedIn.
Okay.
I have to say, I really like LinkedIn. I'm starting to enjoy the Instagram because when I say I'm starting to enjoy, because when you're new to something so Instagram. So yes, write to me and
Amelia's website. Is ameliespeaks.com, and that's AMELIE speaks.com. So make sure you check out there. She also has on her website, because I think you guys should really take a peek. She's got on her website her ePitch Mastery course, which I love. I'm going to link all of this when it goes live. And then of course her book is available on Amazon, which is also linked through her website, but I'll link that book directly. Such a fantastic read. And like I said, I know that there's more to come. I was even reading through some of your articles and blog posts on your website yesterday, and I was just like, it's so heartwarming, the work that you're doing. Thank you. Thank you for coming here today and sharing with us. Thank you for doing all that you do to make such a huge difference in the world. We so appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Kelly, and thank you to all of you listening.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.